Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dan here. This isn't really a normal moonshine talk thing, but I just wanted to talk about a guy I knew through the wrestling business. He passed away recently on the 20th of last month. His name was Frank Ciatso. He wrestled as Francisco Ciatso, Uptown Frankie Capone. He was a longtime journeyman pro wrestler down here in the southeast, trained by Exotic Adrian Street, and he was good. He was at times he was more of like a gimmicky comic wrestler. You do like comic heel, comedy heel, that sort of thing. He kind of be like a Goomba type of good fella gimmick is basically what he did. But when he needed to be serious, he got serious. He was a great talker, good build. Wasn't the tallest guy on the planet, but he had a nice run in Florida. He went to Deep South Wrestling, which was one of WWE developmental territories up in Georgia. And he had a run there. Did a lot of stuff in Georgia. Up until recently, he was training people at the FIP training center. He had a lot of students there. So yeah, found out about it the Saturday that happened, Saturday afternoon. My old tag partner called me up, told me that Frank had passed, and since you know so many people with the same names in this business, I thought it was a different Frank, and then I looked online, found out, and sure enough, it was Frankie. So found out what happened. Died in his sleep, which I mean, I guess of all the ways you can go, that's probably the best. I guess it's better than screaming in pain or anything like that. But anyhow, not to get too morbid. I first met Frankie in I want to say the summer of 2000. I was still kind of green. Was kind of running the road down here in Florida. In the Central Florida area, there was a company called IPW Hardcore Wrestling, and they were the it promotion at the time. That was the place that a lot of people, a lot of up and coming guys, uh, guys trying to move up the ladder as far as getting to the next level. That it was a place that a lot of guys pined to work for. So me and my buddies, we were trying real hard, work on the smaller shows, the smaller circuit, and eventually we got called to do some stuff with them, do some TV tapings, and my first match with them was with Frankie, and it was good. I mean, he could have reasonably, because he was a bit more of an over guy there, name guy within the company, so he could have ate me alive if he wanted to, just done all his shit and pretty much gave me nothing. But he worked with me. He was cool. The match itself was just standard TV match. You know, not too many bells and whistles. Probably the only thing I really remember about it is at that time I was trying to get more acrobatic with some of the stuff that I was doing. So I tried doing a springboard crossbody on him, and the timing was just a little off. He wasn't quite prepared for me to do anything like that. So I kind of missed him just a little bit. And had I told him or warned him that, hey, I'm going to go for this, then he probably would have caught me a lot better and it would look more spectacular and it would have made me look a lot better. But, you know, it was all right. And he was always cool, very, very gracious. Later on, probably a few years later, when I was working for the main promotion I was working for at the time, doing the Moonshine McCoy gimmick, we ended up working again. We worked this big show that we had in Ybor City in Florida, in Tampa, which is kind of like the party district, if you will, like the wherever it is in New Orleans, where the Mardi Gras is always held. Back home, there's a town called New Paltz. It's a college town. Lots of bar, nightclub, tattoo parlor, eatery, that sort of schematic. Ybor is the same thing, but anyhow, that's irrelevant. We had a show with a lot of huge names. Dusty Rhodes was on it, Mike Graham, uh, Jake Roberts was there, uh, Kevin Sullivan was on it. I think Kevin Sullivan and Mike Graham they headlined the show with a couple of my buddies. Sandman from ECW was there, D'Lo Brown, Billy Gunn, a lot of the local guys, and I fortunately was allowed to open the show with Frankie, and it was a good match. It was, you know, he put me over. He made me look real good. Did a simple roll up finish, and that was it. And then probably a few years later, I want to say it was Halloween or the night before Halloween, Devil's Night, whatever you want to call it, Hell Night. We worked a show in Tampa, and that was probably 2007, 2008, something like that. And we worked again, just a small, like a VFW hall or something like that. And the best part about that match was we the finish was he had his manager, his handler, his second, whatever you want to call him, a guy named Pete Cannon, and the spot was supposed to be he hops up on the ropes on the ring apron, hooks me, grabs me, he's holding me where Frankie's gonna really, he's gonna give me what for and knock me out, what have you, with the ref distracted. But at the end, I was gonna wiggle free. The two of them were gonna clunk heads, bing bang boom, roll them up, 1, 2, 3, and hopefully the crowd goes nuts, but probably went mild, or whatever happened. Uh, so we're doing the deal, and Pete grabs me, and he lets me go like probably like 30 seconds before he should have. So Frankie's like cartoonishly running at Pete to collide with him while I'm on the ground already, and it must have taken him like 4 or 5 extra steps to do the whole deal. But we did it, and then they joked in the back about Pete missing the finish, and even online a few times after that, he would joke about it. Hey, have you found that finish you lost yet? So it was kind of cool. He was funny. He was a funny guy, very charismatic. Like I say, good talker. And I got to think about it because I was trying to think of all the different Frankie stories that I may or may not have. And the only other thing I could think of besides that was we tagged together, which was the show itself was wild. There's a whole bunch of stories about that. But we tagged. It was him. It was my partner, Mike. We were doing the hillbilly gimmick. Frankie, and then our tag partner. He was on the outside, and they were so afraid. The promoters were so afraid to get him in the ring because he was so bad, which is another discussion for another time. They had him bouncing around a rubber ball the whole time outside the ring, and he got super pissed and he left. And we were working the Davis brothers, the Heartbreak Express, Sean and Phil, and then I believe Scott was in the match as well. Scott is Phil's twin brother, but he would work as a singles guy as opposed to working with Sean and Phil. Um, and it was good. I remember it being good. And we talked afterwards about doing more stuff together, kind of doing like Adrian Adonis, Dick Murdoch vignettes, where Frankie, being a New York Italian, kind of sophistican, if you will, and working with these crazy ass hillbilly swamp people, that he was gonna try to culture us, and then we were gonna take him and take him fishing and things like that, and just do the whole like culture clash, fish out of water gimmick and stuff like that. And we, like everything in wrestling, there's a lot of things in wrestling you just never get around to. You come up with these crazy ideas, and then you never commit to any of them or set times to do all the stuff. But that was cool. And then the show itself was wild. It was a funny night altogether, as far as kind of like a funny story surrounding. I told a bunch of people this last night at the service, but we did the match, and like I say, our partner Tom, Whiskey Willie, he left in a huff because he didn't get to work on the show because he had friends there, which come into play in the story. So they had a guy named Bruce Santee and Chris Canyon from WCW WWE. He was working a lot of stuff down here in Florida at the time, so he was working our show, and he was kind of one of the main attraction guys. So they're doing a match. They're brawling on the outside. The crowd's going nuts for it. And a lot of indie shows don't have security. They don't have off-duty police, EMTs, stuff like that. It's the whole thing. Most shows are run on skeleton budgets, and you do what you can. You do makeshift things to try and make it work and make it professional. But we didn't have security and stuff like that. So they're roaming around the crowd doing the thing, fighting, brawling, and all that. And at one point, I believe Bruce took a chair and he cracks it over Canyon's back, and it flew and it hit somebody in the crowd, which is a bad thing. You can get sued and stuff like that. But they smoothed it over, and things went well. So it turns out later, we're doing another show, Tom and I, and we're driving down the road, and I'm talking to Tom, and like he left early, so we get paid, we get our envelope, we're supposed to split it 3 ways, Mike, Tom, and I, but he left, so we split his pay. It was the right thing to do. So I was talking to him. I said, "Hey, bro, just so you know, we split your pay. And he's like, oh, bro, I don't care about all that. I like that you guys got paid. And, very easygoing guy. Tom's a whole other story. But so we do, and then we're talking about it, and I was like, yeah, did you hear about, some fan got hit with a chair when they were out there in the crowd brawling? And he goes, yeah, and I'd like to thank you guys for that. I lost my Subway sandwich deal. Apparently, the people that got hit with the lady got hit in the crowd with the chair, and they were there to see Tom, and of course he didn't work, but they stayed and watched the show. But he'd always told us that he, in another town over, he knew some people, and he like would wheel and deal and barter and all that sort of thing. So they would give him free Subway sandwiches for whatever he bartered with them or traded with them. So he lost that after she got hit with the chair. So it was really funny. And then the other funny thing about that night was, as this brawl was happening, Buck Quartermain, who's a well-known journeyman wrestler down here in Florida and around the area, southeast and whatnot, he wrestled for WWF as a enhancement talent for a short time back in the day, and phenomenal guy, cool, tough as nails, fantastic wrestler, fantastic worker, great on the mic. I can't say enough good things about Buck and his work. But he was an agent in the back, and him and my buddy Steve were running the promotion that we worked for at the time, EWE. And he's getting pissed because they're out there. Chris and Bruce are out there brawling in the crowd. He's like, ah, damn it, this is why you can't have a territory down here. You're always doing this shit. And he's getting hot. He's just mad. And there's another guy, Cedric Strong is his name. He's another wrestler from the area, and he's sitting next to me, and he's just snickering the whole time because he's losing his shit over Buck losing it. So Buck walks away, he kind of calms down a little bit, and then all you hear is you hear either probably Chris, but you hear a bunch of chairs rattle like somebody just got tossed through them, and Buck just stiffens up, and then he lowers his head and he walks away almost kind of defeated, and Cedric is losing it. His face is just beet red, tomato red. He's just and trying not to get caught because either Cedric's tough, Buck is Buck tough, so he's very capable with his hands and everything. So he's not really somebody that you want to piss off, especially at that time. So it was really funny. But long story short, that was those are probably my best memories of working with Frankie. I just want to show everybody a picture of him if you don't know him or have never seen him. That's Frankie right there. Very cool guy. He's gonna be missed. He was a staple of Florida wrestling, Georgia wrestling. Always helpful with his time with talent, and yeah, so that's it. Kind of a different thing for me to do, but I felt like, if anybody sees this who hasn't already heard these stories or heard of Frankie or seen any of this or want to share it with anybody who knew him, that's my story. That's my story about Frankie. So anyhow, that's all I got for you. I'll talk to you soon. Got some more videos coming up probably, and yeah, take care.